readers, writers, and followers of Beneath the Rain Shadows Season 2. In this show, we will dissect and explore the early writing and editing process through prompt-inspired stories and monthly live story critiques with our 4 hosts. Back from last season, we have co-authors of Rain Shadows Volume 1, Tamara K. Sellman, and me, Clay Vermola. And new to the team, we have 2 very exciting additions in Gordon B. White and M. Lee. We hope you'll join us each month for some deeper insight into the creative process and all the fun we're sure to have along the way. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy the show.
I wasn't expecting that switch to the record.
That's right.
Real dark real quick.
Oh, yes. As other me said, as pre-recorded me said, welcome to Beneath the Rain Shadows Season 2. Thank you so much for joining us. And as pre-recorded me also said, it's me, it's Tamara K. Sellman, it's Gordon B. White, and it's M. Lee on the microphone today for our first episode of the new season. Now, just a quick refresher of what's going on in this show. Tamara has written a story based on a prompt that we gave her last episode in episode 0. And if you want that full rundown of the critique process and everything like that, you can go back to episode 0. It's live on the Fermented Fiction site, on the Substack, on the YouTube. But yeah, what we're going to do today is we're going to critique that story that Tamara sent. We've all read it. We've all taken notes, and we're all ready to talk about it. We're going to do 5 minutes for each of us. And at the end, we'll talk about sort of the general craft process and the writing process based around the story and based around Tamara's experience writing that story. You can see on the ticker below, too, the prompt that we used to create this story. But just to refresh you, this story is called Gray Mantid Farms, and it was created from the prompt hitchhiker as the horror trope, grain silo in eastern Washington as the location, and Seattle sports fans for the Pacific Northwest quirk. All of our tropes will follow that same format. Welcome to the show, everybody. Thanks for joining us. And we're going to start off with a quick little round of chatter. We have a theme discussion coming up to kind of open up the show. And it looked like you wanted to say something there, Gordon.
Yeah, I wanted to say that I appreciate for the location how granular it was.
Very granular, yes. But I need
it's the specifics.
You know, if people are only listening, they do not know that there's a grain elevator picture behind me. So
there sure is.
Now you're in on the secret joke.
And they should have to watch it all the time.
You should. You
shouldn't just listen to it. You should watch it several times.
Yeah.
Yes. Watch it 90 times. Listen to it 100 times.
Your dog might like it.
Just cut it loose. You can't get enough of Gordon's puns. You really can't. And, that's the first of many. I'm very confident about that. Tamara, you did us the courtesy of bringing an opening discussion topic. Do you want to lead us through that?
Yeah, it is still, believe it or not, January, and whether you do resolutions or not, it's time to check in and just talk about what your writing or storytelling or narrative or media goals, because we do more than just writing here, are for the year 2026, just as a nice, grounding moment to sort of look ahead and see what we want to be doing. So I'm going to put Emily on the spot and ask her.
Boom.
What are you doing?
What is
this
my
year?
2026 going to look like? Well, right off the bat, I'm going to be writing a story for us here probably pretty soon in the next couple weeks. And I'm also trying really hard to get into Views from the Overlook. Have you guys heard of this?
Yes.
Anthology that's coming out. Jamie Flanagan. I had the pleasure of teaching a class with Jamie Flanagan once. And so
nice.
It's kind of like a dream to be included in his anthology. It's for the Views from the Overlook, so it's the Shining themed, and think of a good enough story to kind of compete with some of the heavy hitters in that. So that's what I'll be doing mostly. And always working on Stitches, my book. I'm hoping to get it, out into the world this year. That would be the goal. Let's see what else. And all the behind the scenes stuff that we've been doing with PNWA and HWA, just trying to put authors where they need to be. That's kind of my goals. Yeah. And not going crazy like always, just trying to hold it all together because it feels like there's a lot to hold together.
Yeah.
So what about you, Clay? Speaking of holding it together, because I know you've got like how many balls in the air right now? So what are some of your chief goals? Maybe not all of them, because I don't think we have 25 minutes or 30 minutes. But what are some of your main goals for this year for your own writing?
I'm pretty focused on this project for sure. And I kind of want to get back into, I want to try to write a couple short stories for fun this year. I haven't done that for a couple years, honestly, because I've always had some sort of project or whatever, or a class. Like all the short stories I wrote last year were for Richard Thomas's class, and that was great. It was a really productive, fun workshop. But like, I didn't write those stories just for fun. I like always had a deadline and everything. So I'm motivated to try and do that. I also have to finish my trilogy for the Voices from the Cold, because I'm about to turn in the final line edits and copy edits for that manuscript of the second book, and that's going to be hopefully coming out in May as long as everything falls together well. So yeah, I mean, starting the third book of that trilogy, I started writing that trilogy in 2019, so it's been a pretty long time coming to finally get to the third book, and trying to tie that whole story up nicely is obviously a huge goal. So I would say those are kind of the chief ones, like trying to write a couple short stories for fun and get published a couple places. I just got rejected from Pseudopod after being in consideration in the second round and everything. Got a personal rejection. So that's kind of nice. Got lots of feedback. That was helpful from Kat Day. So shout out to Pseudopod for sending some feedback. I appreciate that. But didn't get in. One day, hopefully, I will join the ranks with Gordon there and get into Pseudopod. But this is the furthest I've gotten in that particular arena. So getting in there or somewhere equivalent with a short story would be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think so. And what about you, Gordon? What's on your agenda?
Oh, well, I'm here. So that's big.
Yeah.
I think just writing more, honestly. The last couple of years, I've had a tendency to be really in my head. There's like a sophomore slump sort of thing, but I think it's more for me. It's been what's after sophomore? Junior year blockage. Just the inability, I think, to write for myself without thinking like, oh, what would the next step like in terms of career-wise or in terms of that kind of thing be? Like last 2 years, all I've written have been things that have been solicited because I have to, so I don't have time to like get in my own head. So I think I want to just write more. And I went to a talk by Karl Ove Knausgaard recently, and he was talking about like how he wrote so much and so fast to get out of his own head, and then the process of writing, hitting that flow state where he looks at the page, he says it's half literature and half me, and I'm like, that sounds amazing. So I'm going to try to do that, just put more stuff out. And also, too, I think I want to look more at non-traditional publishing methods, like particularly like small things that you can sell directly to people at cons and meetups. Because I think there's so much throttling that goes on with the algorithms. And even with like independent presses, like getting a thing accepted by them to publication can be 6 months to a year. And I think, being able to do things more quickly, more cheaply, and more directly is something I'm interested in sort of building like local ground game rather than always aiming for a nebulous internet audience. But smaller.
More but smaller. I love that. And I also am leaning into the smaller stuff. I actually recently wrote a little mini essay about Ray Bradbury that I batched with this digital illustration that I made, this digital kind of weird collage, and it just got accepted. So that's going to be in this cool zine project. Cool. Yeah, I mean, it just happened. So I'm also with you on the like face-to-face kind of, trying to get more things that are smaller and more maybe limited edition even. I am currently actually working on a zine. It's not for horror, but it's about creative ways to be a creative resistor, how to use your art skills to work for the resistance. So, and it's been super fun. I've actually really enjoyed it and kind of did this deep dive into history and so forth. So I'm working on that. But yeah, for me also, it's going to be a lot of just keeping up, but it's going to be a lot of diverse forms and media this year. So between the zines being one thing, but I also have a couple of poetry films, one of them which is definitely folk horror that I want to finish this year. I am trying to pull together a chapbook of flash fiction that's all pretty dark and maybe some surreal. I have a novelette that I'd like to maybe make into a limited edition zine that I can just hand sell only and not even put it on for sale anywhere. Just it's physical media, right? That's kind of what I'm leaning into. I want to write more speculative poetry and maybe do some 10-minute plays. I'm going to be taking Eric Keevan's play workshop this weekend, which is through Gamut. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll put the link to that in the show notes. And I still really want to get back to my novel in progress, Eminent Domain, which is this sort of dark, speculative, cli-fi narrative. But I'm also going to be doing script writing and filmmaking this fall with the filmmaker certification program at the UW. And then also Clay and I will be doing a couple of things together. We're going to be doing the Crypticon 3 anthology coming up this spring also. And then, what was the other thing? Then we have a new column Clay and I are doing for the Dread Writer Society. So a lot of it is just, again, it's going to be juggling. I have a lot of work that needs to be revised and sent out. So I'm not, looking to write a lot more new stuff as much as I'm trying to, ferry my work out into the world and find homes for it. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
And
between you and Clay, it's like 10,000 balls in the air.
I know, it's crazy. But I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way. I just love making stuff, obviously, no matter what medium. And it's a great, I don't want to call it a distraction because it's an occupation. It's something that I feel like I'm meant to do. And so I feel more than ever that it's important to be making things and being creative and using my rights to expression and all of that. So I'm, 2 feet in, diving in. So, and I dove right in with the first story of the season for this second season of Beneath the Rain Shadows. And you guys gave me some really, really good prompts. And I had a lot of fun writing this. And I hope you like it. So I guess with that, I want to send it back to Clay and see about maybe we'll go get this ball rolling on the critique. Ooh.
Absolutely. And a big part of this show, just as a sort of side note out of all that we just talked about, big part of this show, our main mission for it, I think, is to help writers get through the early writing and editing process and to continue to create. That's what we really believe in. That's the beautiful thing about art. Like, keep creating it. It's important no matter how much other bullshit is going on in the world. Creating art is among the most important things you could do. We truly believe that here at the show. So keep doing it, no matter what, no matter how hard it gets. And if it sounds like being a full-time artist is really difficult and you have to do 1,000 things all the time, that's kind of true. So if you do want to do it full time, you might have to be a little bit like me and Tamara, and that's kind of crazy. Otherwise, you can be like Gordon and work a day job and get really, really, really good at writing and get published a bajillion times. Or you can be like Emily and volunteer everywhere and become a huge part of the community and meet people and get your way up in the industry that way. There's a million ways to do it. Find your lane. Stick to it. Keep making art. It's important. And on that note, let's talk about making art. Let's talk about what it takes to write a story in like a week and have all your friends tear it to pieces right in front of you live on YouTube. We're going to do that right now. Emily, I'll go ahead and do the first critique.
Okay.
So I'll have you get me a 5-minute timer ready. And just as a refresher, you can go back to episode 0 which is the first episode posted of BTRS season 2, sorry, to get a full scope of what we're doing here. But the nuts and bolts of it is we're each going to have 5 minutes. We've all read Tamara's story, and we're going to talk about our main talking points, our main pros, our main cons, and then questions and comments and whatever else we have about the story. Tamara's going to listen the whole time, and then at the end, she has an opportunity to ask any clarifying questions or talk about anything that maybe didn't get across from her end of things as a writer. And then she's going to talk about her experience writing the story. And I hope it's all valuable to you. So yeah, with that, I'm going to
get... You want me to give you a 30-second warning? Or just say time when it's done.
Just say time. You can just yell at me.
Okay.
Because I'm going to be reading off my sheet here. So yeah. I guess I'll put myself in solo view. Or actually, here's what we'll do. Gordon and Emily, go ahead and turn off your cameras and mics, because that'll kick you off the screen. That way we can see Tamara too, as she's hearing everything.
I'm freaking out. No, I won't be freaking out.
Do what you got to do.
I have no idea how to turn off my camera. Oh, there it is.
Oh,
I got it.
Yeah. You got this. Well done. Okay. And go ahead and let me know when my timer has started. You could just say it verbally and I'll start.
Go ahead.
All right. Okay. So when I'm doing a critique, I always break it into 3 categories, kind of based on the Milford method, but it's what works, areas for consideration, and questions, ideas, and additional thoughts. And I always like to start with what works. So what worked for me? This story has really creepy, unsettling atmosphere and ominous overtones well woven throughout. Lots of good descriptive energy. Lots of good descriptive imagery, as always. If you've never read a Tamara K. Sellman story, people out there, then you don't know this, but she is an excellent writer in terms of describing the world, describing the characters succinctly and sufficiently. So you've done good in that, as usual. You're also always really good with symbolism and color scheme and things like that. Your sort of filmmaker brain comes out on the prose page there as well. So that was noticeable with the red as a seduction method throughout. You've got the insects, you've got the Seahawks, which was a great use of the prompt. I felt like this story was an awesome way to kick it off with the prompts, because I definitely think we need to integrate the prompts a little more in this edition of the book. So you've started us off the right way with that. I love the use of the Seahawks. That was really fun. I really liked the relationship between Brody and his dad. That felt real. It felt like strong motivation to keep him in a visibly sketchy situation, despite his clear second thoughts. Like, it was an uncomfortable situation, and anyone who's reading this story is going to be like, this guy, how does this guy not understand that this is a bad situation? But at the same time, when you're young like that and you got something to prove and you're kind of trying to forge your own path, you do ignore a lot of warning signs, because you don't think about mortality the same way. You don't think about consequences the same way. And Brody, very much that suburban kid that he's clearly lived like not a perfect life, but he also doesn't seem to have lived a super tough life. Like, it seems like he had a roof over his head, food on his plate, that kind of stuff. So he's still got that naivete of a kid who maybe didn't grow up in a perfect family, bit of a broken family, but he had a roof over his head. He's got something to prove. He wants to forge his own path, so he's willing to take these chances. I also love the Garrett character. He felt like a pretty real farmer. So I like that quite a bit. Areas for consideration. Nobody would ever start as a grain elevator operator for like their first job. There's definitely a long way to work your way up the chain there. That's kind of like being a foreman at a construction company. and it's a big job because, you know, you're loading a grain elevator. The reason those are there is like you're taking stuff from all the individual farms around the area and loading them onto trains and stuff. So you have to know lots about federal contracts. You have to know lots about independent contracts. You have to know international agricultural law. Like there's a bunch of stuff going on. A lot of grain elevators also like kind of set their own prices and are running a business of their own, obviously. So it's a big job. So I don't think any kid that's never done it would get an offer like that. That's a semantic detail. Lots of these are. I grew up on a farm, so there's lots of that. You wouldn't call it a pig house. You'd call it a pig barn, I think. I mean, at least I've never heard it called a house. In fact, that's like a joke in Breaking Bad when Jesse looks at a barn and he goes, "Hey, there's a cow house over there," and Walter White's like, "A cow house?" You know? So like, it's called a barn. Also, grain silos and grain elevators are definitely different things. Like a silo, there's not really anything in a silo because the only thing that goes in it is grain. And it's like if you've ever poured grain into something, it gets in every single crack, every crevice. If you walk in it, it gets in your shoes. I literally picked grain stuff out of my socks today, from like harvest last year. So I just it gets everywhere. You don't have ladders or anything extra in there. It's literally just steel and concrete and maybe the auger in the floor, which is used to funnel it out. But we could talk about that later. A big thing for me was the Gina character. I thought she was very ominous and creepy, but she was also kind of confusing to me, and she bumped me out of the story a bit. I took her as a seductress. She's got the red dress, which, you know, stands out for sure. If you're walking around a farm field, you wouldn't usually be wearing a dress unless there was like a weird reason for it. She's just a weird character, and she's kind of described that way throughout, like off-putting and strange. But I don't necessarily have much of a understanding of why. Like he says he's put off by her, but I don't really get why. And then sometimes it's referenced that she seems kind of drunk. To me, somebody who grew up with like an alcoholic father wouldn't really be questioning that. He would know. I feel like he would have a really good sense of that. And it probably would be more than off-putting to him. It'd probably be like really, really like he'd probably make it mad, and he probably wouldn't want to talk to her or trust her, I would assume. If
That's
he's
5 minutes.
especially okay, thank you. So we're gonna have to tighten that up because I had a lot more to say. But that's the way it goes with a critique group. Yeah. I can send you the rest in my notes, and I have notes all throughout. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff. So
All right.
we'll move on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, Emily, you can come back on the screen, and we'll have you go next.
All right, I'm going to try and look at the timer and do this at the same time. Okay, Tamara, you did a hell of a job. I absolutely loved this story. With Gina in the red dress, I felt like that ticked so many horror notes for me when I started reading it. It was like bing, bong, just like to think of a red dress in the middle of a field. Like it's not necessarily scary, but it's unsettling. And that's what I love so much about this story was it almost kind of felt like your setting was also another character in a way. Like the setting was very ominous and unsettling, and I absolutely loved that. I loved the pace throughout. I thought that the tension built really, really well throughout. The hooks that you kind of put in there, you did a really great job. Again, I know Clay said this with the Seahawk imagery, especially how it ties in with the end. I think I put this in your notes as well about how, you know, the man and the eye and all of that. And I thought that that was amazing. And those hooks, I think were really strategically placed beautifully. That ended up to like a really kind of satisfying ending. So that was amazing. I'm trying to see here. I wish I had more to say because like more helpful comments because this was actually really, really good. I would say that some of the improvements, I think just some of like the scene breaks, there was like a lot of them, and I know that that will come out in the wash during editing, but I think it had such a great pace. I don't think we needed the scene breaks throughout. Also, I kind of wanted a little bit more of Brody's motivation at the beginning of the story when he was like, why would he go through all this trouble to be walking 10 miles like in the heat? I think you gave like a little hint in there. It was like, this is on you, Dad. But I kind of just wanted a little bit more of like, why are we sticking with Brody? What did his dad do? And again, kind of like what Clay said is like, he's a young kid. He has something to prove. You know, why in the world would he stay in this really odd, strange situation? And again, I know that Gina was kind of the odd one. She was the one that was kind of a little unsettling. I really did like Garrett's character, but just as like a suggestion, I'm curious, you know, what would happen if you weirded him up a little bit, you know, because he seemed to be like, you know, kind of the normal one, the one that was going to be kind of reliable, but obviously he's diabolical as well. So I think maybe a few hints in there about, you know, Garrett might up that tension a bit. That again is just a suggestion. What else was I going to say on that? Sorry, I've got so many notes. But yeah, I think that the way that you set it up structurally was just made for a very effective story, and one that I didn't see coming. I knew something bad was going to happen, but I didn't quite pinpoint it until the end, and I adore stories like that. That was absolutely beautiful. Yeah, and so I think just a little bit more of Brody's motivation in the beginning, kind of like that. You did a great in like the whole sense of like, this is definitely too good to be true. And like Clay, I really did enjoy the interaction between the dad and Brody, and that's kind of where we really see the heart of Brody's motivation. I don't know if maybe that or bits and pieces of it can be brought in just a little bit sooner, so we have a little bit more investment into Brody's journey and motivation and why we want to keep following him. And yeah, that is just about my time. I think. Yep, my time. Well done. This was a doozy to start off with. It was good. Oh, and you hit all of your prompts within like the first couple of pages, which was amazing.
Killed it. Killed
like,
it with the
check,
prompts.
Check. Yeah. I was like, you got him. I was like, I didn't even have to search for those. That was great.
Thanks.
All right, Gordon, you're up.
All right.
And Emily can tell you when to start when she gets off the screen.
I will pass along that when you do critiques, one of the helpful things is if you go second or third, rather than just restating everything, what we used to do in Clarion West is we would just say ditto. So
yep,
it
totally
saves you the ability to not do the same things again and again, and you can just move on to be meaner. So anyway, I'll go ahead and get started. Let's say now. So unlike Clay, when I do critiques, I like to just sort of go off the cuff, which is a lie. I had notes. But so to start off with, I'm going to ditto everybody. I really love the way you create the setting. Your use of specific details is really good. One thing that you do really well that I think a lot of people could learn from is it's not just describing what things looks like, it's using their proper names. So like using like the names of plants, the names of trees, the names of species of birds is a really good way of developing specifics. And it gives you that sort of authority, which is what we think about when we think about authorial voice. I really love the weird elements that you have here. And it's not just the symbolism of it, because I think the red for seductress, that comes out, but that it's a red dress, which is totally at odds with the farm, is amazing. You know, it's something that it's almost Lynchian in the way that it doesn't quite fit, but it's elegant in its own way. Like if it had been a red shirt, the same symbolism would have been there, but the unease would not have been. And there's a lot of things like that, like the inability to sort of pin down like what Garrett and Gina's relationship is, I think was really good. The things she says too, like there are times when she talks like in a way and you're like, what is this dialogue coming out? It doesn't quite fit in with like the appearance she's giving off, which I think is a really interesting thing to do. And I'm a big fan of not explaining everything. I think that intentionally leaving some productive ambiguity in these kinds of stories is much more effective at creating atmosphere. Also, too, I'm going to ditto people's like of the Seahawks motif. I thought it was really well used. I thought it tied in, as M said, with the lore of the original symbol as well as the ending of the story. I thought it was really good. One thing, though, I sort of wondered is I noticed there's steps where you're trying to account for horror things like he loses his cell phone at the very beginning. And I wonder, does this need to be set in the present? Is there anything there that we get there? Like the Seahawk symbol the current iteration came around in like 1975 or 76. So you could play with the last 50 years of time frames. And also, too, I'm going to go against the grain and say I didn't much care for Brody and his dad's phone call. I think that it told us exactly what we already knew about his relationship. It was more details, but it felt like a scene from a novel in a short story, and it just felt too long. I don't think it twisted or added any new complications. We already knew he didn't get along with his dad, and then we just saw it. And so when you're trying to, keep things either at a marketable length or just tighten up the pacing, I don't know that it needs to be there unless it's doing something else. Also, too, I don't know why these people would have let him call home. Like, it's not a spoiler to say something bad happens to him. So the fact they're like, oh yeah, call your dad, tell him where you are, seems a bit unwise on their part for being manipulative.
Ditto.
Also, I did like, though, that Garrett seemed very helpful. And at first, like, the offer seemed very basic. It's like, you can just stay here and, you'll get a free motorcycle that's been left around and some money. I was like, that seems realistic. It's like, we can give you benefits. I was like, things started to get weird here. But I will say, like, I want to talk about the ending while I have some time, but I don't want to spoil it for anybody. But I'll say that there are sort of two reveals here. And one I think is really cool and really interesting and really surprised me. And one I saw coming from literally page 5. I put it in my notes. But I'll tell you what, like, for all genre readers, they're all looking for genre clues. And as soon as somebody says, and livestock, we all go, okay, well, I get it. Like, the livestock is either people or they eat people. And from then on, everything we're seeing, we're just like, okay, how is this going to play out? So I think that, like, there's a very cool reveal here. And I think that maybe, one of the things we do when we write under pressure or write fast is we sort of sometimes default to the thing we know already. And so we've seen this story before. And I think that part sort of undercuts the really cool and interesting thing that your story is otherwise doing. So I might challenge you when you go back to see if there's a way to sort of streamline that and focus in on the really cool and different part. And then the part we've already seen before, you maybe just issue entirely. Hey, that's 5. I think that's 5 or 4. Whatever. I'll let you have a minute off. I'm generous.
You're just about there.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I want to piggyback real quick, Gordon, because I had the same exact, I didn't quite get to it, but same exact feeling about the reveals at the end. And I did have a cool idea for how you could combine them. But you know how birds, like, they eat their food and then they regurgitate it to their babies? I mean, you could accomplish some of the same stuff if these birds are, like, literally regurgitating stuff into the pigs. But that could be kind of fun, especially since you're playing with all those symbiosis, like, themes and stuff. But that was one fun idea I had, because I was with Gordon,
not even
too.
Into the pigs. They're just doing that to make the sausage.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. No wonder you got sick from it. Just into the casing. Gross.
No wonder he got a tummy ache.
Yeah, exactly,
Right?
exactly. Spoiler alerts, our MC in this story will get a tummy ache at one point.
Pretty bad tummy ache, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and now, as per the critique format we're using, we're going to pass it over to Tamara for her to ask clarifying questions of us, for her to clarify things, and for her to talk about her process of writing the story. And that doesn't necessarily have to be timed 5 minutes, because we're about 30 into the show. So go ahead and talk about your story, Tamara. How is writing it? What do you have to ask of us? Or what can you help us understand that maybe we didn't?
It was really fun. Did have concerns about the ending once I had the story figured out, because I didn't want to give away the ending. So I'm really going to deep dive your notes and your suggestions and see how I can make that work out. I do feel like it's one of those stories where I think I don't mind a story if you kind of guess the ending, because you still want to read to figure out how they get there, because it's not necessarily obvious, but I don't want it to be so obvious and too much of a cliche either. Like, Gordon is kind of pointing out that, we already knew by page 5. So, and I think I can even almost point out exactly the words that
It
gave that
highlights it
away.
into text. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I appreciate the feedback. First of all, thank you so much for giving it such a close reading. And I really appreciate it, especially the feedback on the different relationships and the characters. And specifically Gina, because I was not sure about her. So I think that was good feedback. And actually, Garrett, I liked everything that you guys said. I think there's some ways to really give them, even all of them, more dimension. Thank you, Clay, first of all, for the real world explanation. I did look up grain elevators and silos, and I thought I had it figured out, but I did not look up the job itself, so I have to figure out some other task. But that's fine. I can do that. And the pig barn versus pig house, that's cool. I did not know there was an auger in the floor, and that is amazing. Because if you had an
Yeah.
auger,
You can have fun with
my
that.
thank God. Okay, so
Those things are
Gina,
nasty too. I
I
know a
bet.
guy who I know a couple people who are missing limbs and stuff for that reason.
Oh yeah. So I mean, I have that highlighted in my notes, like auger. What? Okay, so and okay, so Gina, I'm glad that you liked the red dress thing. I went back and forth. That was actually a little thing that came to me in a dream. This image of this woman in a cornfield in a red dress, like one of those Spanish dancers. And I was like, oh, that's so weird. I think that's Gina. That's gonna have to be Gina. So let's see. I'm glad that the pacing, the tension seemed to be good because I often really like to lean into the setting and the atmosphere to the at the cost of actual storytelling. So that was good. I'm really glad you liked the Seahawks thing. So there's a little story behind that. You really can't take on a lot of NFL anything without license and permission. So instead of just talking about the team and NFL, I kind of defaulted to the image of and where it came from, which is not, owned by the Seahawks or whatever. It's based on an old, I won't spoil it, but based on indigenous imagery. And so I go into that. And that was really satisfying. That was a really cool research. I also did lots of research on ospreys to make sure this could actually even happen out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I found myself up in northeastern Washington, which I've been up there, and it was really fun to go back up there. My dad was a really psychotic about fishing, and we would go all over the state. And so I spent some time up there as a kid, and it is beautiful. And all those farms, nestled at the foothills of these big mountains and stuff are just beautiful. Let's see. I have lots of notes. I always keep a lot of notes as I'm going. So, okay, so the thing about Gina is that I don't want to spoil the story, but you guys kind of hinted at it. But Gina is displaying symptoms from something that happens to you when you participate in what they do there. So I don't know if I need to get more into that or if I should just, she doesn't have to, but it would be, I mean, it certainly does make her weird. So I'll think about that. I learned a lot about, yeah. So if you know what I'm talking about, there. What
is it Kuru?
I was gonna say, I think that would be an interesting thing to explore.
Yeah, I kind of, it is Kuru. And I was inspired because I read Natural Beauty, I think it was. And that was also something that happened to some characters, and that was just really, whoa, that's just bizarre. So, okay.
That's cool.
Yeah, so we'll see what I can do with that. I'm glad that the ending was satisfying to you, Emily. Although I do think Gordon is right that there are two endings and that I need to just give it a little bit more of a twist and maybe not give away so much. But because I also am someone who doesn't want to give too much away, but I always get dinged by some for not giving enough. And so I'm like, so it's that fine balance, right? That's it. So the the scene breaks comment, I appreciate that, Emily. Because I don't necessarily need to do that, but that was really more for my own, like, just
Right,
organizational,
I get it. Yeah.
Definitely. And that was Gordon, your comment about the Brody dad phone call is really well made, because it doesn't give anything new. So if I'm gonna do it, then I need to bring in something new that actually makes things harder for somebody, Brody probably, makes him have to make a bigger decision maybe, or I can cut it way back because the story is a little long. And then just kind of hint at those things. So I definitely can work with that. And I'm glad, Gordon, that you like that uncertainty about the relationship between Garrett and Gina. I do like to just put in things that make people like kind of shift in their seat and they don't know why. I like that for myself, you know what I mean? So that was really useful. And excellent point that they probably wouldn't let him call home if they were doing what they were going to do, because that's like, traceable and whatever. So
you can still just find a phone though if you want to keep that in. He could just look around and find one in
he could. Yeah,
in the
that's
greenhouse.
true. Yeah.
Or it could be a memory.
Pig condo. Yeah.
Or it could be a memory, like something that an argument, like he's reliving a memory that him and his dad had before.
Maybe. Yeah.
When was the last time I had my phone? He remembers calling him at the diner, and I left it there.
So I think I'm looking at all the sessions: 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I wrote this in 9 sessions. 2, 4, 6, 7.5, 9, 10. I think it took me about 12 hours all told to put this together. Okay. And a lot of that was just research, and it was really fun research. And I must say, Gordon, the reason I love that specificity too. And it comes from doing that research and not just like being general, but saying, okay. And then when you do study like the habits of ospreys, and those details that came out of that research are so useful in the story. In a couple of ways. I mean, I was able to really mine a lot of stuff. So I highly recommend any writer to, go in and just noodle around in some pages and learn about some animals or gray mantids or whatever, and see what comes up for you that creeps you out. So anyway, I actually have some really great leads on how to revise this, and I'm super excited, and I really appreciate the feedback. This has been really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're so welcome.
I think that's a great point about the research too, and Gordon brought it up as authorial voice. But yeah, the word authority, author, they're literally from the same root word. And you kind of do need people to trust that you know what you're talking about with that kind of stuff. I imagine bird people are about like gun people, just having met an ornithologist or two and seeing bird watching groups. But like, I'm sure when you send this story out, if your osprey stuff isn't airtight, they're going to be coming after you, the bird people. So
seriously,
and that will happen.
Birds ablazing.
Birds ablazing. Just as like, so Tamara, this is a fun thing I did while reading this story. When you showed us the reveal at the end, there's a reveal at the top and a reveal at the bottom. So without spoiling anything of the silo, the thing at the bottom of the silo, I did the math, or at least some approximate
How cost-effective
math.
would this be?
Yes. How like, having stood in many grain silos in my life and cleaned them out my whole life, I think you'd need like 200 bodies down there. At least.
Well, also too,
and
like,
that's assuming you're not sending them out.
Yeah.
It would be a lot. It would be a lot. Sorry,
I
what
did
were you
back
saying?
the envelope math on like how much animals eat, and like how many you would need, and like how many people would have to. And I was like, that's quite a few. It was like it's probably not cost effective in the end.
Yeah, it seems a lot less sustainable than just grass. But hey, I like where your head's at. I like the reveal, so I don't want to see it go anywhere. But I do think that, like, I think it could be a really good commentary on like the working class, perhaps the migrant working plight in farms that sort of exploit mass groups of people for cheap labor under the guise of doing something sustainably. So you could have a lot of fun with that. And that's in my notes. But anyway, I just thought on that note of research, I did that math as well. And it was kind of ridiculous when I really thought about it. I was like, what does it look like when 3 people stand in a grain bin? And how many would it take laying down for there to be a pile big enough that?
yeah, exactly. And I did actually think a little bit about that, but I was like, oh, I got to be done with the story and send it off. So that's part of it, but that's okay because it's only a draft, and so I can go back and revisit that. So, and I know you guys already have some good suggestions for me for how to tweak that and make it work and make it sound, because I want it to be logistical. I want it to be logistically sound, right? It's got to be believable. So, well, or maybe not. I mean, there's a lot of Tales from the Crypt that's not believable, but people love that anyway. So, death and murder and
I think with those things, fun. With that, as you mentioned, though, it's always a balance then of tone and, I think for the willing suspension of disbelief, there's like a quality of prose that I think lends itself to that kind of like cartoonish stuff. Sort of, I mean, not always. I mean, you can have a really interesting effect of doing something bizarre and like outlandish in a very straightforward, straight-faced voice, but you're going to get a lot more resistance from people who are not as cultured as us.
Indeed, those people don't know art.
those Philistines.
Art, capital A.
No, I
feel that's true. I feel like artists are like, well, yeah, it's believable, but is it interesting?
Right.
Yeah, for real.
Right. We were just talking about that the last night on my other show about how like as long as the tone and the setting match, you have like a level of realism there that people are willing to accept. Because we were talking about like Terminator was the debate topic, but like the difference between T1 and T2 is pretty stark in terms of like believability. And so like, but we still sort of felt as a collective, like, I don't know. It still works though, because the tone matches the setting, matches the story, matches the intentions of that story. And so it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, as long as all of that stuff is synced up. And for a first draft, I think this is synced up in that regard really well. So hats off to you.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And now I have a better idea of what farms look like. I looked at a lot of farm pictures and I did look inside. I tried to find pictures inside grain elevators and stuff. And just, I need to do a little bit more work in there just to level that out and make it more accurate. But it's really cool. And I mean, if you've ever driven in Eastern Washington, you've passed by all of these, and they're just a beautiful thing. I think Eastern Washington does not get the credit it deserves for being such a beautiful place. It's so beautiful. Maybe it's not green in the same way that the mountains are, but it's green and colorful in its own way, and it has all the beautiful textures. And then you have those long swaths of land that are rolling. And anyway, so I wanted to do Eastern Washington a little proud, because they deserve it. That's beautiful out there. So
definitely. Well, like when I was coming up with the location prompt, my husband is from there, and I was going to say like a farmhouse in Eastern Washington, and he's like, you need to make it a grain elevator, because I used to sweep those out and those are scary. So I was like, okay.
Yeah. And how many people who are not farmers have driven by there wondering what's in there? I mean, they can maybe guess, but I mean, a lot of people don't even know what's in there, really.
Yeah.
So
that's true. I was actually laughing pretty hard when you said grain elevators don't smell bad. Because that is definitely just not true. They smell terrible. I don't know if the grain rots in there, animals die in there. They're really actually quite disgusting. But just, another fun tip. It's in the notes. All the farming knowledge that you did not ask for is in the notes.
Well, see, that's why we keep you around, Clay.
Yeah, exactly. We all have a purpose
keep us
here.
Honest.
And we'll all eventually be Soylent Green for the earth at the very least. Okay, so now we're going to get to the next part of the show, which is we are going to give our next author her prompt. And spoiler alert, that's Emily. She's down there in the right-hand corner. You can also see it on the ticker. But Emily is going to be our next author up. She is on the hot seat. So at the end of next month, she's going to have a story, and we're going to do this same thing once again to her story. So hope you're ready, Emily.
I'm ready.
Does everybody have their one part of the 3-part prompt?
What?
Yes. What?
Gordon?
No, I got it. What is
This guy.
my-
I got to get that drum badooch thing for you, because
Yeah,
it's
that's
just
why
going to
we
be
did this.
nonstop. Why don't you go first?
All right.
On the
My
spot.
part is the Pacific Northwest quirk. And so,
Yes.
what I would like to see is salmon. You
Salmon.
could have it being alive. You could have it being dead. You could have it being eaten by a bear, eaten by a person. You can smoke it. You can sushi it. You can watch it swim through the water. You
All
can
right. Yeah.
do whatever you like with it.
Spawning and rotting.
Salmon.
Salmon, that's good.
That's a great choice. Salmon's a huge part of the culture out here, has been forever. So love to see it. I'm excited to see what you do with it, Emily.
Yeah.
Tamara, what do you got for your piece of the prompt?
Oh wow. Okay, I like that prompt, Gordon. Good call. I am gonna give you a large. It's probably a big. It's not super specific. So you have some latitude with how you want to go with it. But the trope is anything that falls under the nuclear umbrella. So it could be nuclear contamination, it could be nuclear waste, it could be annihilation, it could be nuclear, like a bomb shelter, it could be radiation, it
Mutants.
could be mutants. So anything, because nuclear is just terrifying all on its own.
No, it is. I recently just watched Chernobyl, so.
Oh God,
That's
there
probably
you go.
the best horror series in the
It
last.
seriously is.
Yeah, and it's real.
Most terrifying thing I watched.
Yeah,
I could watch
yeah.
one episode a day. I
Yeah.
was also very stoned at the time, but that probably didn't help. But
No, it's-
I would either be too scared or I'd fall asleep. One of the two.
Under the
Absolutely.
nuclear umbrella. Got it. Okay.
yeah.
The nuclear umbrella. I love that.
do
And
too.
that could pair really nicely with mine. So I have the location. That one Tamara gave was our horror trope. And the final piece is the location. This is always going to be in Washington State somewhere. Story for you guys, since we have a little extra time. I one time got stuck in Wenatchee Pass, this Highway 2 Stevens Pass area on an Amtrak for 4 entire days. I was coming home in the middle of winter, and the pass was completely avalanched closed, at least the part that the train tracks go through. So we tried to get through it. We got stopped, and the snow was literally like up to the second story windows. It was so high on both sides of the train. So they had to bring in a freight train and tow us back to Wenatchee. Then they tried to plow it. We tried to go again. We got stuck again. This whole time, we're all just sitting on the train, getting no information. The Amtrak cafe had shut down. So there was no food. And then Amtrak doesn't really do water anymore. Don't know when the last time you were on a train was, but it's not great. I don't know how that place keeps running. It's clearly a front for something else. They pulled it back out. And then we were in Wenatchee, and they put us in a hotel for the night. The next day we were going to try it again. They're like, that's not happening. They took us all the way back to Spokane, where you can get on the train instead to Portland. So we had to go on that, and then up from Portland. It took the total of like 5 days. I missed like 3 job interviews that weekend. It was crazy. So Amtrak. I'm giving you the Amtrak train, and you're stuck anywhere. You don't have to be stuck. You're in Washington, though, on the Amtrak. It goes from Seattle down to Portland, and it goes up to like basically Highway 2 over to Wenatchee, and then across to Spokane. So anywhere in that you can be.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right.
Ooh, that
I took
sounds
the train
like
down to
fun.
Portland a month ago. It was delightful. I love the train.
It is fun. Yeah.
But I've never
done
gone to
that.
Wenatchee, and that's why.
I love the
I'm not
train
going
too.
to.
I truly do. And that was why that was such a bummer of a trip. I still take it when I go home to harvest, because that's in the summer. And it doesn't get stuck in the pass in the summer usually. But I no longer take it in the winter, because I've had 2 bad experiences, and that second one was very bad. I mean,
Yeah.
Although I will say, it was a fantastic thing to experience. You truly will witness in a situation like that how quickly society just breaks down and people start to make their own rules. I mean, people were done with
my
it.
God.
And I
Yeah.
was worried there was going to be an actual mutiny. Like it
Oh,
was
no.
fascinating. It was fascinating.
Wow.
So yeah,
Human
don't take
behavior.
Amtrak in January. Just don't do it.
Yeah. Or maybe not even like in November when they're having the like, what do they call the rivers, the atmospheric rivers, and they flood
Yeah.
everything out. 'Cause I'm sure that probably happened this last fall too, right?
Yeah.
Ugh.
That
Probably.
sounded nice. Yeah.
You definitely would not have wanted to be on the train during all the floods and that terrible time period this year in Washington State. Hopefully everybody's doing okay in the aftermath of all that. That was nasty, and I'm sure we're still dealing with it. Highway 2 is still closed, which is insane. One of our most
That's
major highways
insane. Yeah.
across the mountains.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah,
Mm.
how do you feel, Emily? You feel good about this prompt? Are you excited? Are any ideas churning already?
They are. I'm like, I feel the wheels turning. I feel them turning already.
Unlike Clay's train.
Unlike Clay's train, I'm
Yeah.
gonna get somewhere. Yeah. That was
Oh,
no, I'm excited about this. I think these are all great.
Ooh, it's
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
be fun, I think.
Yeah.
Tamara?
We'll see how it turns out.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Emily.
Oh, I was just gonna say, we'll see how it turns out.
Right on.
Absolutely. I can't wait to read it. I know it's going to be a good time. This is a fun combination of prompts. So hoping to see some irradiated salmon eating Amtrak employees, but it's your story and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
I mean, if you see the
Tamara?
chowder you have on the train, we could have irradiated salmon in that for sure.
That's true.
I mean, you could.
We always joke about how the equivalent of a French dip on the Amtrak train is the hot dog and the Ivar's.
Gross, dude.
Oh my God, that sounds horrible.
Just like a
Oh my
beef
God.
cup of soup and a
Yeah.
hot dog. So
Oh my
Gordon
God,
is
that's too
clearly in
funny.
the hot dogs are a sandwich camp. Whether you agree with that or not, go ahead and throw it in the comments. Let us know
Oh,
what
man.
you think.
Yeah, right.
Or if
Tamara.
that's not culture enough, what is taco sandwiches? Let's get that.
Oh man,
That's a
you
tough
guys.
one.
I used to be a food writer and cookbook editor, and these are things we would literally argue about in like, meetings. Like, does that go in the sandwich category, or does that go in the appetizer category, or does that go in the breakfast and brunch category?
Hey, I mean, there's a strong case to be made for the taco, you
Yeah.
know. But I'm no professional, and I'm sure a professional would make me look real dumb for that. You could also make the same argument though that a tortilla is just a utensil. You know,
True.
it's,
true.
if you're using it
Edible, right,
properly,
yeah.
that's usually how it kind of rolls. Tamara, any closing thoughts on the story process here and what you learned from the story today before we take it out?
No, I think I gave you pretty much the whole shebang, and I was really glad to have a story to write this month, so I have something to put my mind toward. So good way to start the year. I feel like it's just been a really good way to start the year, and it's been a really good start. I just have I've gotten like 6 acceptances in like the last month.
job.
So
That's
So-
Yeah,
and
you've
I-
been on fire.
it's another like just avalanche of things, and I do have a cool. I'll put a link in the show notes about a little piece I wrote about podcasts from the shadows, which I wrote for the Aqueduct Press blog, and it was just a survey of the dark themed podcasts that I really loved in 2025. So I'll put a link in there, and that's through Aqueduct Press. So, but yeah, it was a good time. I really enjoyed it, and I was glad to. Those are great prompts, so thank you.
That was really
Yeah.
cool.
Awesome. Well, great work on the story.
Thank you.
Again, just for everybody, as we close out the show today, thanks for riding with us on Beneath the Rain Shadows, Season 2, Episode 1. All these stories eventually will be put into a collection, and it'll look, something like this. This is the first one. Last season, in Season 1, Tamara did these by ourselves, so we just traded off on prompts and stories every month. So there's 6 from me in there, 6 from her. That's Rain Shadows, Dark Tales from Washington State. You can find it online. You can find it on our website, rainshadowstories.com. rainshadowstories.com. And if you want to be a bigger part of this conversation, you want to learn more, you want to ask us questions, you can do all those things at our website, rainshadowstories.com. It'll be in the show notes. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we hope to see you at the end of next month. We'll be here the last Wednesday of every month with a new story critique and a new author writing that story. And until then, we'll see you on the other side. Thank you. Goodbye.